The air crackles with anticipation. In one corner stands a seemingly ordinary young man, his heart pounding in his chest, a sling in his hand. Opposite him is a colossal figure, a giant whose very presence seems to shake the ground. This is no ordinary battle. This is the legendary showdown between David and Goliath. But what if we told you there's more to this story than meets the eye? Join us as we reimagine this epic clash, exploring the untold details and hidden truths that will forever change the way you see the battle between David and Goliath. Before we dive into our reimagined tale, let's take a moment to appreciate the original. The story of David and Goliath is an ancient narrative found in the Bible's Old Testament. It tells the tale of a young shepherd's boy who, armed with nothing but faith and a sling, takes on and defeats a seemingly invincible giant. But why does this story continue to resonate with us today? What makes it so timeless? We believe it's the story's universal themes of courage, faith, and the triumph of good over evil that continue to inspire and amaze us. So, before we reimagine this classic tale, let's take a moment to reflect on what makes it so enduring. Now, let's unpack the legend. When we think of David versus Goliath, we often picture a young boy facing off against a towering giant. But what really went down? Let's break it down. The story unfolds during a time when the Israelites were at war with the Philistines. Each side was lined up, ready to fight. And then came Goliath, a Philistine warrior who was a giant among men. He taunted the Israelites, daring them to send out their best fighter to battle him. Day after day, he challenged them, but nobody stepped forward. That is, until David, a young shepherd and musician, entered the scene. Intrigued by the giant's boasts and worried about his people, David decided to confront Goliath. Now, despite being just a boy, David had a strong heart and unwavering faith. With these two powerful allies, he marched confidently towards Goliath. The giant, taken aback by David's audacity, mocked him for his small stature and lack of armor. But David remained steadfast, knowing that his God was with him. Then came the moment of truth. David, armed with nothing but a sling and 5 stones, faced off against Goliath. The giant hurled a spear at him, but David dodged it easily. And in a swift move, he picked up a stone, loaded it into his sling, and aimed for Goliath's forehead. With a flick of the wrist, he let the stone fly, and it hit its mark. The giant stumbled, fell to his knees, and eventually collapsed to the ground. And that, dear viewers, is how David took down Goliath. Now that we've got the basics down, let's reimagine this epic showdown. What if Goliath wasn't just a boastful giant, but a cunning strategist as well? Picture this: David approaches Goliath, sling in hand, ready to face the giant. But Goliath doesn't immediately attack. Instead, he taunts David, trying to provoke him into making the first move. Why? Because Goliath knows that aggression often leads to recklessness, something he's banking on from his opponent. As David stands there, poised and ready, he too is playing his own game. He knows that charging him blindly would be a mistake. So he waits, sizing up the giant, looking for any opening, any sign of weakness. This is a battle of wits, as much as it is a physical contest. Meanwhile, the crowd watches intently, their cheers and jeers echoing around them. Some root for David, the underdog, while others think Goliath's taunts are justified. They're witnessing not just a battle, but a display of strategy, patience, and skill. Suddenly, Goliath makes a move, a quick jab aimed at David's midsection. It's a surprise attack, testing David's defenses. But David is ready. He sidesteps the blow, keeping calm and focused. This is it, the moment he's been waiting for. As Goliath recovers from his initial attack, David makes his move. With lightning speed, he launches his stone. It's not just a lucky guess. It's a calculated move based on everything he's observed up to that point. This isn't luck, it's strategy. It's David at his best, using his intelligence and experience to outmaneuver his opponent. And as the stone connects with Goliath's chest, sending him crashing to the ground, the crowd erupts. They're not just cheering for David, they're cheering for the triumph of strategy, patience, and nerve. David has shown them that sometimes the greatest victories come not from brute force, but from a clear mind and a well-executed plan. But let's imagine a different scenario. What if Goliath had second thoughts? Just as David prepares to throw his fateful stone, a look of uncertainty crosses Goliath's face. His earlier confidence seems to waver, replaced by a sudden doubt. Could it be that this giant, invincible in the eyes of many, is afraid? You see, throughout the story, Goliath has been portrayed as a symbol of insurmountable odds. He represents the challenges that seem too great, too overwhelming to be overcome. But what if there's more to him, more to his character than just brute strength and arrogance? What if there's a hint of humanity, a touch of vulnerability hidden beneath his intimidating exterior? Perhaps the weight of his own legend has started to crush him, making him question his invincibility. Maybe he looks at David not just as an annoying fly, but as a symbol of all the things he might lose if he falters. This isn't the Goliath we expected to see. This is a Goliath who's humanized, a giant wrestling with fear and doubt, reminding us that even the most formidable opponents can be afraid. However, this is where our reimagined tale takes an unexpected turn. What if Goliath suddenly stops? Not because he's afraid, but because he realizes he doesn't want to fight this battle anymore. He's tired of the endless cycles of violence, the lives that are lost on both sides. In that instant, he makes a decision. He drops his weapon, a symbolic gesture of peace. The crowd is stunned. They've never seen anything like this before. The giant who has taunted them for so long is now offering peace. It's a shocking development, a surprising twist to the age-old story. In this moment, Goliath isn't just taking off his armor. He's shedding his old ways, leaving behind the image of the invincible giant. This isn't the ending we've been told. This is a new story. One where the giant chooses peace over conflict. But wait, there's more. What if instead of harming Goliath, David reaches out a hand, offering him not just victory, but friendship? This isn't about revenge or fulfilling a prophecy. It's about seeing beyond the giant, recognizing the shared humanity that binds them together. After all, the story of David and Goliath isn't just a tale of physical prowess. It's a story of courage, determination, and the power of belief. So what if we took that to heart? What if we saw Goliath not as an enemy, but as a potential ally? A giant who could help bridge the divide between two warring nations. Imagine the possibilities, a world where giants and shepherds, warriors and kings can come together, not in battle, but in peace. That's the message we want to share. And to understand this message even better, let's look at the broader context. The story of David and Goliath is set against the backdrop of the Israelites' journey to the Promised Land. It's a story that appears in the Old Testament, specifically in the book of Samuel. This was a pivotal moment in their history, a time when they were transitioning from a nomadic tribe into a nation. The enemies they faced, symbolized by Goliath and the Philistines, represented the obstacles in their path to nationhood. These obstacles weren't just external, they were also internal, stemming from the doubts and fears within the Israelites themselves. That's where Goliath comes in. He embodies their fears, their doubts, and the seemingly insurmountable challenges they face. To defeat Goliath, David doesn't just need physical strength or military tactics. He needs faith. He needs to believe in himself and in his God, and that's the real battle. The story teaches us that our biggest battles aren't always against external enemies, but often against our own internal fears and doubts. David's victory over Goliath is as much a spiritual triumph as it is a physical one. So, when we hear the story of David and Goliath, let's not just think of a battle between a shepherd and a giant. Let's see it as a metaphor for our own struggles, for the times when we feel like underdogs, facing challenges that seem too big, too scary to tackle. Let's remember David's courage, his belief in himself and his mission, and the Israelites' hope for a better future. After all, Stories like this have been passed down for generations, not just to entertain, but to teach and inspire. They remind us that with courage, belief, and a little bit of strategy, we can take on any challenge and emerge victorious. And that's our reimagined tale. But remember, this is just one interpretation of an age-old story. What do you think? Do you believe in the power of peace and understanding? Or do you think David was right to take on Goliath? Share your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this journey through the epic showdown between David and Goliath, don't forget to show your support. Your likes fuel our passion and keep us motivated to bring you more amazing content. So thank you for joining us on this adventure. Until next time, keep believing in the power of stories and the strength that lies within you.